strangers become friends. Friends become road fools. It's just this way. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Dim Carnival. I'm Bill.
I'm Steve.
And I'm Ryan.
And this week we're talking about Anybody Killa's EP, Road Fools. The Road Fools EP. And this might be our shortest episode we've ever recorded.
If you haven't heard that before.
Here's just an overview of the album. The first time I attempted to listen to the album, I put it on when I was going to go lay down for a nap. I fell asleep during a skit, and I fell asleep during the opening skit. The opening track of the album is a skit. And I woke up in the middle of another skit, and I looked at my phone, and it was like the last track of the album. Or it wasn't the first skit, let's just say. I fell asleep for many minutes, and I woke up, and I was in the middle of another skit, and it sounded like the same skit, and I had heard no music. But I have since listened to all of the music a couple times on the album, and let me say, not a fan of this EP. It's not really a rap album. It's barely an EP. It's mostly ABK and Laval, and is Isham on this?
Isham's definitely on it.
Yeah, so it's like Laval, ABK, and Isham just like sort of generally fucking around. Like there's very little direction to it. What I think that they're going for on this album is that they were all like on tour and they wanted to capture an EP of like what it felt like to be on tour and like what it was like to just like be out on the road with your friends doing shows and like having a good time and having fun and loving each other, which is a fine sentiment. But like to me, this is like not very much of a rap album. It's like more of a, I don't know, like a tone piece, and there's not a lot of rapping. There's just like ABK sings a lot, and the music's not very compelling, and what the subject matter of the songs isn't very compelling, but that's just my general thought on how I'm feeling about it. I don't know how you guys feel.
I mean, you hit the nail right on the fucking head, Bill. Well done.
Cool. All right, well, we're done here. Thanks for listening.
I mean, what were you going to say, Steve?
Lots of off-key singing.
Really off-key.
Like, really, like I thought they were doing
even
it
more
on purpose.
Like,
it had to be on purpose.
For a Psychopathic Records album, it's off-key a lot, or...
I think it's funny that because just a couple weeks ago, Bill, you were talking about how typically the choruses are a certain flavor on Psychopathic Records, and that having to do with because they're not great singers. But here, ABK is really trying to show you up because he's singing a tune on every chorus pretty much. 3 different ABKs singing all over the place on each track on this record.
All for you.
I mean, it's kind of a thin record, but. So I don't know if I want to jump all the way ahead to the last track, but he hits some Mariah Carey notes in the last track. He's definitely off key, but he's up there. He's got some range.
So like just for example, like the opening track, well, not the opening track. The opening track's an interminable skit about someone stealing an RV.
Okay.
But
okay, sorry. Go ahead.
But so Feel This Way.
Just handle things that come my way. Don't let shit get to me.
Like the hook is fine, and I think that if it had rap verses, it would probably set a better tone for the EP and also be a much better song.
Okay, so the first thing is the if you threw a dart at this CD, you'd have just as much chance of hitting a skit as hitting a song. So that's the first point, is that there is almost as much time spent in a skit. And the skit is like a serial skit. It's a story that starts from the beginning of the record and ends at the end of the record, where they're souping up their RV because they're all going out on the road together, and they're gonna and they take it to the shop, and the guy doesn't even understand why they're doing this to this car. Like, why are you spending all this money on this car? You know, putting 24-inch rims on it, fucking custom seats and all that. And then he does
leather on steering.
He does end up stealing it. Now, actually, okay, what I want to say about this scene is that ABK plays the guy that works on the cars.
Right.
And you know this because he has a lateral lisp. And I was thinking, I never thought about it before, but that must make it really hard to do like impressions and voices and characters and stuff, right?
As evidenced by the skit. I mean, he does do his best by doing a racist accent.
That's true. I mean, he said before that because people were accusing him of being of doing it on purpose as like a gimmick, and he was like, "You idiots! Like, why would I do this? Like, you think I want to do this?" But that is to say, that the skits do not go with the music at all. Like, the skit. The theme of the skit is very clearly what you said about friends being on the road and all the exciting things and adventures that they get up to. But that being on the road is sort of a continuous theme of some of the tracks. But it just does, and the music, the tone, the vibe of the skits has a high energy. It's funny, and a lot of the songs are like kind of slow and introspective. And so that's what I'm thinking you're meaning when you're talking about it being like more of a tone. And so I found it to be really disjointed that way. Like, I have played shows on the road with bands and kind of had a little bit of that feeling, you know, of being out there together. And I know a lot of bands that I listen to write songs about that and stuff. So I feel like that's a fun thing that, you know, is a fun thing to share, you know. But it just doesn't match with the music.
Yeah, so to me, like following that skit, they should have done like an upbeat, like, yeah, we're out here partying on the road with our friends, and then like, you know, 2 or 3 songs in, do the like, it's you know, it gets to be a drag out here on the road, and late at night I'm alone with my thoughts, not like immediately going into like isolation, like what's wrong with me vibe. And you know, like, now that I'm talking it out, I think it's possible that they intended this to be like a full album and then like ran out of time or couldn't come up with enough songs, so they were just like, let's make it an EP. I guess we'll do track 7 as track 1.
I have a theory. There's nothing for that I'm basing this on except for my own thoughts, and that is that they actually came up with these songs while they were on the road together. And they didn't necessarily have to do with that specific thing. It was just songs that they came up with, right? And they put them all together on this EP.
Sorry, go ahead and finish.
You know, and so they made the skits after, and that's why the skits are cohesive and have a better narrative. But the songs were just songs that they made, and they do somewhat have to do with that. You know, the way we roll is like being on tour and going from town to town and trying to find that the hookup that you know. So that you could get smoked out in the next city.
Sometimes it feels like we've been driving all night, hungry as a stray dog with no food in sight. Had a bomb-ass show, now it's on to the next. Full tank of gas with a bag of stress, hoping that the next city's got that good, so I could get my nerves straight and make my brain shake.
But that's probably like the only one that's like the strongest, same type of narrative or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree. I was thinking, listening to it, like being like, oh, okay, so, you know, in between gigs and they're like loading up and like you said, they're getting their smoke and they're laughing and doing all that stuff. And then like the songs, I pictured them like writing while they're like, you know, stoned out of their minds and think they're writing these hard hitting like really deep stuff, and you know, and it's like, and so like for them, I could see why that probably feels like it's a part of the entirety of it, and that it might seem like it flows for them because they're like, well, shit, I wrote this on the road. I was super baked in the back, and I was, you know, really thinking, man, I feel this way. This is how I roll. Rage.
That's amazing. I kind of felt like when I first started listening to it, the second time I listened to it, you know, with a more careful ear, and he's like, why do I feel this way? And I wrote, my first note was, okay, we're doing some introspective ABK. But then I started listening to it, and I'm like, wait a minute, why do you feel what way? Like, what are you talking about, ABK? He like doesn't really even say anything about how he feels or what emotions he's feeling. He's just like, oh, I'm alone with my thoughts, and I wish I had somebody to talk to, but you know. And it just made me want to be like, ABK, tell us how you feel, man. Like, talk about your emotions. You're gonna feel so much better if you do.
Just let it all out.
All for you.
It's funny that, like, after, you know, we had spent several weeks being like, yeah, I like whenever ABK, you know, raps, and I like, you know, we're always reminded what a good rapper ABK is. Like, he decides to not rap on this EP. It's like, I'm gonna try something different, guys.
I really like the cover art.
Yeah, it's fun.
Okay, wait. Who are all these people? Have you guys?
I don't know.
Have you guys tried to figure out who these people are?
Gangster Spider-Man.
One of them's Laval, one of them's Esham, one of them's ABK. Well, ABK is ABK.
ABK is right there in the center. I feel like I have this memory of Esham wearing the MF Doom like face mask, and that's got to be him.
Well, if there were any information on the internet at all about who Laval is or what he looks like, we would have found it by now.
Okay, then I'm gonna use this as a segue, Bill. That was beautiful because I told you yesterday that I wanted to talk about an email that we got.
Oh.
The homie Jiggles emailed us a while back. A few days ago. But he's been probably screaming into his radio for the last 2 weeks at us talking about Lavelle and not knowing anything about him. So he sent us an email, which we finally get to address that now. And I got a lot of information for you guys about Lavelle. So Lavelle started off, his real name is James Hicks, and he used to go by the name J-Ho. And was half of a group called Crazy Clan, and the other half of Crazy Clan was Anybody Killa, who was at that time was J-Mo. So Lavelle and Anybody Killa used to be in Crazy Clan, and Crazy Clan had other affiliate groups, House of Crazies, which we know is Twisted, and Two Crazy Devils, who's Blaze and ROC. So all those guys used to, like, way back in the day, I don't know what year this was, but way back in the day, used to all roll together and had this big crew of people. So then Lavelle started going by Lavelle later on, and he started to get more involved with, we noticed his name started popping up, right? We've been talking about him for the last few weeks on Colton Grundy. We talked about him on Chainsmoker, and here he is again.
It's fake because Rage is credited as being performed by the Crazy Clan on Road Fools.
Oh, nice. Of course, we mentioned a few weeks ago when he first came up that he's in Supervillains, Mr. Hart. And we also talked about him on Master of the Flag Guillotine. He produced tracks on that, and he will produce tracks moving forward. We'll see him on Twisted's Man's Myth and Mutant, and he also is credited as a co-producer for ICP's album The Calm. So Lavelle is very heavily involved in ICP from this era right now through into 2006.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's Lavelle.
Cool.
Nice.
That's good information.
Yeah.
I just knew he was in
Jiggles.
the Supervillains. Thank you, Jiggles. I just knew he was in Supervillains, but I did not know his how he came to be connected to these individuals. So that's very good information. Good context to have. What was your guys' favorite track on the Road Fools EP?
Up My Sleeve.
Watch out, hey, something's lurking, staring right at you. I can feel your soul's been waiting.
Oh, interesting. Really?
Yeah.
You like this? This is the same one from Chainsmoker that has the woo kind of singing chorus. You like that stuff. So my notes that I wrote for that is that he's so unpredictable. He's a killer, right? Is like the main theme, but he basically describes himself as this kind of like dark, evil force. I sort of thought he was kind of positioning himself as, you know, one of the like Joker's card level characters, you know, in the Dark Carnival.
I mean, like Jay and Shaggy and Twisted have talked about having a lot of powers before, so. But yeah, that's an interesting read.
He seemed pretty strong.
Yeah. We'll have to see his character sheet.
Right. My favorite song was All For You.
Yeah, mine was probably All For You as well.
I feel like it had a kind of like a dope 80s movie, like intro credits theme song type vibe.
Yeah. The skit was funny at the end.
I loved hearing them
the
talk.
The big payoff,
you know?
is just them breaking character.
Okay, but who are all these people? There's a ton of features on that song. There's no information on the internet, although all of the lyrics are up on Genius, except for the intro track. And some of those tracks say who's who, like when it's an Ishan verse or whatever, but I have no idea who these other people are. I feel like guessing that one of them is Lavelle is a good guess, but they both look like they got white skin to me. The dude wearing the Hulk mask and Spider-Man here.
Oh, you're just talking about the cover again.
Just the cover of the CD, yeah. But also, this was, to go back to like the meaning or them putting out an EP, this CD came out packaged together with a DVD. And the DVD was a bunch of, it was like a Jackass, basically, or maybe like Invisible Scratch Pickles Wash Your Trash. We've talked about that before. Turntable TV, you know, where they like do little skits, and so it's like over 80 minutes long of music videos and footage from the road, behind the scenes stuff from being on tour, and all these little skits.
Is it on YouTube?
It is on YouTube in like 6 or
damn.
7 different parts.
We should have known about this before.
Well, I just found out about it about a couple hours, like an hour ago.
Maybe we'll watch it at some point.
Well, I clicked through, and I mean, I think it might have been interesting for us to talk about some, or maybe there would have been some skits that we thought were funny, but it's not anything like, you know, it's fun. It's not anything substantial.
Sure, but it might have given us, for example, more to talk about on this episode.
Right. Well.
But that's cool to know. Good stuff, man. Thanks for finding that out.
Sure. They do have recurring characters where like draw faces on their thumbs, and the thumb is like the person. It's pretty low budge, and it honestly they must have shot it on VHS. Like the quality is pretty poor.
Do you guys remember those Thumb Wars movies?
Yeah, kind of like that.
I've seen the cover for Thumb Wars and those other movies like a million times, and at no point in my life have I ever had any sort of inclination to attempt to watch one.
Yeah, I don't know why you would want to do that.
I don't know, man.
Can I ask you guys, on Rage, there's some things that confuse me about this song. So the chorus is basically talking about how he wants to infect the world with rage, and that he's so angry and frustrated. But then he says something about how it should only be used in self-defense. And then he starts singing about, why does everybody have a bomb? Explosions is the answer? I don't know. Is that the answer?
Man, I couldn't tell you what any of these songs mean. It's the least
to destroy the world, not anyone else.
It's the most impenetrable album we've listened to, but not because it's like challenging, just because like it doesn't make any sense to start with. I don't know, man. I don't know anything about this album.
You guys have any fun stories from being on the road in your bands?
One of the bands I was in, our drummer started doing this thing where he'd be playing drums, and then like during him playing drums, he'd barf. and we were, and like it happened once, and we were like, that was weird and fucked up and hilarious. But like it happened like two or three more times, we were like, you should probably go to the doctor. And it turns out he like had basically what I know now. He didn't explain it well at the time, but looking back, like retroactively, his explanation is that he has he had a hiatal hernia, I believe is what his doctor was attempting to tell him. And it just like stuff can't stay down when you're exerting yourself, stuff gotta come up.
But he'd just be like, fuck yeah, and keep going.
I mean, he didn't look like stoked about it when it happened. But he'd be playing, and we'd look back sometimes and be barfing on his drums or down the front of himself. It's pretty punk rock, honestly. Could have leaned into it a little bit more, I guess.
I remember that too.
Oh yeah, for sure. And the other guy I was in the band with was it tickled him to no end. He was very amused by the situation.
He was not
I'm just
very
glad.
kind.
I'm just glad I never saw it in the act. I always saw the aftermath because I'm not good at like watching people barf. So unless it's Steve-O.
It's walking on a razor thin edge for me. It can be
Flaming
amazing, but it can also be just impossible. What about you, Steve?
I mean, yeah, lots of stuff, lots of fun things. One thing stands out.
Bill's mom.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. I was thinking more along of like kind of the feel of this album, where you've expelled all this energy and everyone's exhausted and drunk, and then I'm not because I was driving, and we were coming back from Johnny Anal's birthday party. We played a show in Fresno, so we were driving back to San Francisco. It's like 2 a.m. when we leave, and I'm gonna drive. So we have this big, like 1980 something, like Escalade, or not Escalade, big long SUVs before like SUVs got real popular. I forget the name of the type, but it's just like a Blazer, but twice as long.
Suburban?
Crazy. Suburban, yes, thank you. And so like you had to pump the brakes to stop it. It didn't go over 65 miles per hour. Like it was just like this crazy death trap. And we're exhausted, and we get in the truck, and they're like, "You got to drive, Steve. You're the only one sober." As I'm like smoking a bowl, I'm like, "Okay." And so I drive us. It takes about 3 hours, I guess, to get to Fresno from San Francisco, or to get back home to San Francisco. And everyone slept the entire time. And I had the music up really loud, and I had the windows down, and I was like punching myself in the face to stay awake. And then also having to keep in mind, if I hit the brakes, I have to pump the brakes, and like if I'm going to stop, come up behind someone and stop, that I have to give myself like 45 feet, because they'll just keep rolling, and you're like pressing down really hard, and you're like, God, stop. And I just remember being incredibly paranoid for 3 hours driving all the way back. And we'd had such a great time. We'd get back like at 5 in the morning, and then have to unload because you live in San Francisco and you ain't leaving your shit in the car even for 20 minutes. So it was fun, but that one was rough. That was a rough one. But it reminds me of like ABK. This is why I feel this way.
I don't think ABK would like want to be in a band with me, because like I remember when the Gunslinger played. We played Rivals. The first time we played Rivals Halloween show down in Morgan Hill, and it was a school night, and I had been working. I don't remember, but I was just super tired from work, and we played our set. And even though I loved Rivals and I was so thrilled to get to play that show, I went down and slept in the back of the van just so I could get like an extra hour of sleep.
Wait, was that when you were dressed like Magnum PI?
Yeah, Magnum PI.
I would never have remembered that was in Morgan Hill.
Oh, really?
I absolutely don't remember what Rivals dressed as that year. I just
That
know that when we
year,
played in San Jose, they were Willy Wonka.
They were the Stanley Kubrick movie. Shit.
Oh yeah, the Droogs from
Yes.
Clockwork Orange.
Right, Clockwork Orange.
That's right. Yeah, that was a good show.
Yeah, I love the Rival.
Yeah, Rivals rule.
I remember playing with them when I was in Sky's a Wall.
Nice. And one of the best live bands I've ever seen.
Such a nice guy, the singer.
Oh, yeah.
They're all nice guys.
Yeah.
Oh man, the drummer from Rivals recently shared a picture on Facebook where he's like, "Oh, this 20 years ago I was in my first band or whatever, or maybe even longer." But he's like, "Here's a picture of my first band," and it's like it was like from fucking like 1985 or 1989, and he was like an adult in like this hair metal band, and I was like, "Oh man, I totally forgot this guy was so old." But it was like super fucked up because it was like an actual like photograph that someone had like taken a picture of or scanned in or whatever, and like these dudes like wearing like leather jackets open with no shirt on and like like mustaches. It's great.
I mentioned that was the Halloween show, so I don't know how good my math is, but we are either, by the time this episode goes up, we're either the week of or the week before Halloween. So we're getting pretty close. I wonder how many. I wonder how many government people have died from COVID at this point.
Oh, to be you in the future, knowing how. I really wish I could just like skip to the next chapter, which is like the week after the election, to see like whether everything's smoldering rubble or just to be done with it. I mean, obviously it's not going to be done until like January, but you know, maybe the coup will have happened.
There were points when I enjoyed listening to this record, and I really do. Every time I listen to ABK, I feel like I open up a little bit more to him, and I wish I would have had some more rap on this rap record, but it was all right.
Nice. I like to remind myself when I'm listening to something and being like, this is dog shit. I like to remind myself, never in a million years could I do this or come even remotely close to this, and it helps put in perspective that my opinion is not really all that important, and it makes me start to appreciate what I'm listening to more.
I guess I just feel like we kind of lost or felt like Blaze lost something when we talked about Colton Grundy, you know, that it just didn't fulfill our expectations from a Psychopathic release. And I feel like this one doesn't do anything super different from what Blaze did on his record, but I like this, you know, like I vibe with this a little bit more than I did with that one. And so I think it's something maybe about ABK or whatever. We'll see as we listen to more stuff. But yeah, I just think when I was listening to this, I was like, well, I'm not bothered by this at all, you know, and it doesn't have those things that we criticize Colton Grundy for lacking. So yeah, I just thought that was interesting.
I need to take some steroids.
I
need to get jacked.
Yeah.
Yeah, now you're
I'll
talking.
take steroids and release the confidential classified information.
And rage!
All right, well, thanks to everyone for listening. I think by the time you're listening to this, my book will be out, so you can order that. Go to any of my social media accounts, Sundown Motel. You'll be able to find a link to where you can purchase that. If you do, I really appreciate it. It's very much appreciated. And we always appreciate you guys listening to this podcast. You can email us at dimcarnival@gmail.com. We love to get emails from y'all. How are you guys celebrating this Hallowicked season? Tell us, and we'll let you know around Thanksgiving when we get those emails. So, thanks to everybody.
Well,
yeah, go ahead.
Bill, we need to know what our assignment is for next week.
Oh, right. Fucking podcast. Come on. So next week is, we're getting back to, what we love the best. Insane Clown Posse. We're going to be talking about the Calm EP, which Steve is very excited about.
Yes.
There are 9 tracks on this EP, including an intro, of course. So let's say we'll try and do the first half of it. That's Intro, Rollin' Over, Rosemary, Crop Circles, and Deadbeat Moms featuring Isham, which seems like a good way to end the first week of that. So The Calm from 2005, that EP, listen to the first 5 tracks off of that, and that's where we'll find us next week. Thank you for reminding me, Ryan, that I actually had to tell people what happens next on this show. Yeah, you can check us out on Instagram and Twitter at Dim Carnival. Please check out the YouTube channel. Ryan's been doing awesome stuff over there. Give that a click to subscribe. Ring the bell for notifications. I guess that does a thing. And until next week, I'm Bill.
I'm Steve.
And I'm Ryan.
And wear a mask, please. Wash your hands.
Please.
Wash your ass.